So for Bitcoin and the S&P, what I see happening is come first quarter of next year, let's say April at the latest, so the first 4 months of next year, by April of next year, you should see Bitcoin at 170 to 200K. You should see the S&P at 8320. What's going on, guys? It's Brendan from Market Makers. You're getting a Wednesday update because I was out of town traveling. I'll be out of town again come this Monday. So next week, you'll get a little bit of a late video as well. But guys, I want to give you the super cycle, where we are ultimately going. Now, by 2028, I think you're going to see the S&P, the largest market in the world, at 10K under President Trump. And you'll see Bitcoin at 200K to 250K, and those numbers may be low. I want you to understand that. Those numbers may be low. But if you've been watching my channel over the last year or a couple of years, I always try to give you targets that can be hit. After the April sell-off low, we came right down to target at 4820 on the S&P. I gave you 7,000 as a prediction, which was hit. I told you the market was not done November of last year, December of last year. I told you I see us rallying to 7,500. And lo and behold, as I'm recording, 74.34 as we sit right now. What does that mean for Bitcoin? Back at the same time, April of last year, Bitcoin was 74K. I gave you 132 as a target. We got up to 126. So for Bitcoin and the S&P, what I see happening is come first quarter of next year, let's say April at the latest, so the first 4 months of next year, by April of next year, you should see Bitcoin at 170 to 200K. You should see the S&P at 8320. The most bullish 6 months of the year start November 1 out to April 30th. That's the most bullish 6 months of the year. Now, the big debate right now on YouTube, by the way, is this a euphoric bubble? That's what DoomTube would have you believe. That's your Peter Schiffs, your George Gammons, your Chris Vermeullens, I can't even say his name, the Canadian guy. Everybody's talking about this being a massive bubble that's going to pop. Markets get cut in half. NASDAQ falls 80%. Bitcoin loses a zero, goes down to 10K. That's what they're talking about. But what is this really? Is this a fundamentally driven rally? Because I would submit to you, my friends, this is 100% a fundamentally driven rally. I'll give you Exhibit A. Lee, roll it.
Just now for more. Emily, welcome to the program. This is a conversation we had with Edjard Denny, who, by the way, is at 8250 year-end on the S&P. Outside of recoveries, post-GFC, post-pandemic, when was the last time earnings growth was this good?
Never. I listen to your show every day, and I'm trying to come up with like a new adjective to describe this quarter's earnings growth. It's like spectacular, stunning, shockingly good. Like, it's been awesome. 28% earnings growth versus an estimate of 13% coming into the quarter. And we have 10 out of 11 sectors showing earnings beats, and the magnitude is spectacular, coming from sectors in particular like industrials and communication services. So it's not just technology that's driving that earnings growth. Is 30% earnings growth quarter after quarter after quarter sustainable? Probably not. But we're doing our best to enjoy the sort of nirvana that markets are benefiting from a fundamental standpoint today.
All 11 sectors of the S&P had revenue growth. 10 of the 11 sectors had earnings beats, and earnings were projected to come in at 12-13%. They more than doubled and came in at 28%. Hence, record-breaking rally. Very akin to the record-breaking rally we had in April of 2025. So let's talk about the near term, what's happening here this summer, as well as that further out projected target for Q1 of 2027, and then we'll compare it to what an actual bubble looks like here for the S&P and Bitcoin. Guys, if you like my information, definitely check out the join button on YouTube. Get my video updates throughout the week, as well as our block state update, and you can jump over to our Discord just by checking out that join button on YouTube, as well as if you're going to trade these markets and you want to support the channel, not monetize, check out Bitunix and SimpleFX. Be a Market Makers VIP. Both of those links are in the video description. So here we are on the S&P, the largest market in the world, and the key to tracking the S&P, it's been, I'm not going to lie, it's been kind of easy this cycle because it's moving so symmetrically. If you guys have been watching the channel for a couple years, you've seen this. Look at our primary up waves. Up wave to the upside off the pandemic low, 2,650 points. What about the up wave after the 2022 low to the February 2025 high, 2,650 points. Third primary up wave, if we come to 7,500, which made this adjusted predicted target easy, 2,650 points. 3 up waves in a row of equal length and points, 2,600 points. But wait, there's more. You've been moving symmetrically to the downside. 1,350 points to the downside in 22, 1,350 points to the downside in 25. And a lot of people, Tom Lee came out there and told you he thinks there's going to be a bear market or feels like a bear market this summer. His thesis is you're going to test the Fed. You're going to see a 15, 20% drop. That's possible, but you could also just see a 10% drop. Why do I say that? Because if we look at our cyclical chart here for the last 3 years in a row, what did we do each of the last 3 years? We sold off into the spring equinox, rallied into July, and then we had a 10%, 11% correction. We did that in 23, we did it in 24, sold off into the spring equinox, rallied into July, 10% correction. And in 25, we got a 3.5% pullback because this was a record-breaking rally. So you could see just some type of normal run-of-the-mill 10% correction. And what's interesting about that is we also have symmetry on the bottoms here in the marketplace. When you look at the bottoms, we look at the pandemic low to start it off. Pandemic low to the 2022 low was 133 weekly bars. Now, if you project that out, the 2022 low to the 2025 low was 130 bars within 3 weeks of being a symmetrical move. If we project out that 130 bars, well, that takes you out here to October 4th, 2027, meaning this larger drawdown, this 1,350 point drawdown that you see on my screen, the same drawdown we did in 22, same drawdown we did in 25, would not happen until next year, 2027. And when is the most bullish time of the year? November of 26 out to April of 27. So you could be looking at some type of top with the spring equinox, late March into April. Maybe you get a rally into the summer and then you get that larger drawdown. It's possible. We'll see if the symmetrical moves continue because, again, record earnings growth is keeping the market higher. You're going to correct. This happens all the time. You get multiple corrections, multiple pullbacks. The key is the cycle. What is the direction that it is going? And should you or should you not participate? Those are decisions everybody has to make. That's why this information is very valuable. So let's see what happens with Iran because we need some type of resolution, I think, to end up coming up out into July, because here we are in just about the middle of May. If I want to get up to that 77.20 target, I want to see this some type of resolution with Iran. That'll be our next leg higher. If we end up stalling out here right at 7,500, because we're at 74.35, then I would be looking for some type of correction, maybe just back to just about 7K, slightly below. Work off some of this overheated rally before you participate again to the upside. That's what we're looking at here on the super cycle. 10K target in 2028, 83.20 by April 2027. Let's see what else we got to show you guys here. What does an actual bubble look like? And then we're going to jump over to Bitcoin. Here's an actual bubble. This would be .com run up. Now, you guys have heard me talk about the decennial cycle, year 6 in the decennial cycle. That's where we are, 2026. Look what we did from 1996. From 1996, using that July low, you went up 741%. Now, just to put this in perspective, going back to the pandemic low, which started this cycle, the global inflationary cycle, the global tightening, all the moves, the trillions in stimulus, global shutdown, starting in that pandemic low, the NASDAQ has tripled. Just over. It's like 340%. It's tripled. So for the NASDAQ to do an actual bubble, looking at a 740% move in this case back in .com, you would be talking about a NASDAQ, which right now the NASDAQ 100 is trading around 29K. You would be talking about a NASDAQ over 55K off of the pandemic low. Are we close to that? No, we're not close to that. You have room to run in this market. Now, let's look at Bitcoin. What kind of targets can we get on Bitcoin? Remember, we had the 132 target, fell just short at 126. Since then, let's go ahead and just recap what Bitcoin's done over here since 2022. Primary wave up, primary wave up, primary wave up. 3 waves to a top, gave you the top, nearly a 618 retracement. This morphs into another pattern. Now remember, the biggest YouTubers, biggest influence, everybody has their head stuck up their ass about the 4-year cycle. Hence, I think you're seeing massive underperformance in crypto relative to the markets because they're telling their millions and tens of millions of followers, don't buy the market, it's going to 40K. Could it go to 40K? Sure. We know the markets are going to top. We know they're going to correct. Could be 10%. Could be that larger 15, 20%, and certainly that would affect Bitcoin. Keep in mind, Tom Lee has a 200K target for Bitcoin for the end of this year. My 170 to 200 is out in April of next year, but I do think my target will get hit. So when we look at Bitcoin, what is this new pattern that has formed, regardless if we double bottom or not? Meaning we come back down, double bottom, maybe throw some wicks down a little bit lower around 50K. Regardless of that, the geometry does not change. This pattern does not change. The new pattern would be 3 hills to a mountain. You have hill 1, hill 2, hill 3, and then your mountain forms. You come up, let's say we get this extended summer rally to 100K, we pull back, come back up again. Where are we going? The mountain is going up to 200 to 250K, and this is your 3 hills to a mountain. This is a pattern. I did not make it up. It exists. You see it all the time in high beta explosive commodities. 3 hills to a mountain. I believe this is the pattern that you're going to see, and you'll be doing this in kind with the S&P going to 8320. Again, April of next year. You should see Bitcoin between 170 and 200 by April of next year. Ultimately, my target is 237 on the fib. Let's just round it up to 250 for easy math. But that's what I think you're going to see in Bitcoin. It's going to participate. You're in an epic cycle. You have a president that's bringing in record all-time high foreign investment. You have a president that lowered taxes, and you have the doomer media more on tilt than the artwork at Stevie Wonder's house. This is the environment that we're all trading in. If we look at Bitcoin here on the daily time frame or 3-day chart, what's it doing? Because it's selling off, right? Markets are pushing up, Bitcoin's selling off. All of that is true, but put things in perspective where you are right now, because Bitcoin off the low did a 23,000, nearly a 40% rally. And again, I go over this every single video, but you broke out, you level changed, you broke your downtrend line, you flipped your RMA on the 3-day chart. This is bullish behavior. Watch 78K, watch 76K. Even if you come down to 76 or just slightly below, look at your levels here on Bitcoin. Use simple basic TA, which is mostly what you find on YouTube and FinX. Look at your sell-off low, look at your high. Look at your higher low, look at your higher high. If you come down 78, 76, 75 and change, is this super bearish? Because it's yet again another higher low with potentially the markets resolving higher. And again, if we get some type of resolution to Iran, you're going to see this level change again. Remember, my target, which has sat here for months now, is 86K to 92. That's the rally target. To get more bullish, flip 92 and you have 100 to 112,000. And to get this target, I think you need that resolution in the Middle East. And you would see that with confluence of the S&P. I hope you guys all enjoy the super cycle, because this is real. It is not fake. It is based on the math in the market, the cycle that we are in, and you're going to see exponential gains, and most people are going to miss out. Check me out on YouTube, guys. Check out that join button. Would love to hang out with you guys in the Discord. See you on the next video. Have a fantastic weekend.